Data in CrateDB is stored in tables. Tables are organized into columns, which have different data types depending on what data will be stored in them. In this video, we'll look at some of the primitive data types built into CrateDB. Primitive types are used when defining columns that store scalar values such as numbers and strings. If you're familiar with SQL, you should recognize most of the data types described here. We'll begin with the data types used for storing numerical data. CrateDB uses these data types to represent integer values. A small int can store 2-byte numbers in the range -32,768 to 32,767. Use the integer type for integers that can be represented by 4 bytes, and big int for those that need an 8-byte range. When storing floating point numbers, choose real for single precision or double precision for more accuracy. Character or string data can be represented with these data types. Text and varchar represent variable length strings. To specify a string with a maximum length, use varchar and specify the length, shown as n here. Strings longer than this length will be truncated upon insertion. Use the character type with an optional length value to represent fixed length, blank padded strings. All of these data types support the storage of string data containing Unicode characters. Date and time data is stored using the timestamp data type. A timestamp represents a specific date and time as a number of milliseconds since the Unix epoch. There are two variants of this data type. Timestamp without time zone assumes all values are in UTC.